Nsem-Pii TV. Your mom and boss for you. I think say Obia Nsem-Pii TV.
Entrepreneurship maybe.
Nsem-Pii. Yeah, you ask good questions. I hope sir you continue with your good questions.
Be the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Recording bi etimi aba beto abonten a ni nyina ekire se nipakuo bi na won ete ho na won de wasem a oka nyina ne se 2024 election no a yetimi ekwa akoto no se ye de yehwe ma IGP yera Dr. George Ekufudampare eda so eye IGP na se yetimi ekokoto abana enya ade se NPP amanyukuo no ebetimi abreki 8 no ntise nke betimi a enimanimu ya yenhwan Dr. Dampare na ase akonwa na yemfa obi fufuro entimi emamesi akonwa ne dibre ho sene ebe ya in 2024 se yekopre abenwa no betimi ayefo ede ama NPP amanyukuo no na ene nsem yi beto odwa no ene ayedeja because minority no etimi edeba betu dwa se asem no audio no aba beto abonten no eye serious because for now dey yehu ni pakro a otimi ebegina audio nim etimi ekasa se oye NPP ni anase oye NDC ni anti minority ni se omope thorough probe yenyere ye ho ne yenhwehwem na no kure bi ewom bia entimi emetodwa anyesa in 2024 sanya yenim NDC amanyoko no won ede be ya asem etimi aka ne tena bi ne no na pa Adom Otchere audio no ya ade se won a na wokasa no won etimi ebo pa Adom Otchere din wo bi ne no na Paul etimi aba abonten a no kure bi ewom bia watimi aba biem with serious analysis a ekire se ampa nsem na nkofo ne ka no wo se yetimi eyemu nhwehwem yenkoni enkotie Paul Adom Otchere.
Is it, we can't say, and I have to be clear about that, we can't say whether the tape that was released or leaked is conversations of policemen, but it's purported to be that. It is said to be about COPs, that is commissioners of police. This is the highest rank in the police service all over the world, including Ghana. It is said that COPs were having a conversation about the IGP, who is also a COP, but he's their boss. And they were talking about how the IGP is biased politically, something like that. And that the IGP ought to be removed in favor of one of their colleagues. It's not clear whether the colleague they refer to was in the meeting or not, because you hear voices. You can clearly hear three people. One, the key narrator, two, the endorser, and three being somebody that is sort of interrogating the information. And that person purportedly is not a policeman, but is a politician with, most likely, the MPP. So these policemen are alleging to him, the MPP man, that the IGP is an NDC guy, therefore IGP needs to be removed. And they are promising him as well that if the IGP is removed, they will be able to secure a victory for the MPP if this IGP is removed. That the IGP is an impediment to an MPP victory because the IGP is NDC. Somewhere in the conversation, Good Evening Ghana comes up and they mention my name. Well, they didn't say that I'm part of the plot. They just said that recently, to corroborate their story that the IGP is a member of, an IGP is sympathetic to the NDC, to corroborate that story, they told the person who was listening that recently, we here on Good Evening Ghana had conducted an analysis of who was going to be John Mohammed's running mate. And that, in fact, we had included the IGP and COP Kofi Boakye, my good friend, whom I saw this weekend. I was with him somewhere this weekend. That we had included Dr. Dampare and COP Kofi Boakye. They were using this to corroborate their point that Dr. Dampare and COP Kofi Boakye are members of the NDC. So we'll play the tape to you now, and we will explain the context of suggesting that IGP could be NDC's running mate. In fact, as a matter of record, we have also suggested the IGP to be MPP's running mate. We have done that as a matter of record, so anybody can check that. But we'll go into the details of this tape and understand the first remark that people have made is to condemn the tape and to condemn the action. We will go beyond that and look at the allegations that are being trumped up, if you like, in the conversation and see where the police service in Ghana stands Because we may be able to sack the people who are talking and all of that. But is that a reflection of the mindset of some of our police people? In America, the Joint Chief of Staffs, they are known, their political affiliation is known. General Colin Powell is Republican, is known. He's a general, he's Republican, is known. Another general is Democrat, is known. General Petraeus is Republican, is known. Okay, so we will have to have that conversation, whether the police COP indicating that they are MPP and another COP, the IGP is NDC, whether it's good for Ghana, whether it's the reality, or whether it's terribly bad. Let's start with the tape. We have two versions, the long one and the short one. Here is the long one. The long one we're going to play is yet edited out of the one that is making the rounds. We edited it for relevance. So this is the long one. Here it is.
This man is not a lawyer. He has no fair idea of the law. He has never been on the field. It was NDC that was promoting him day in, day out. When Master was assistant superintendent of police, he was a sergeant. You are what? Sergeant. Sergeant.
I told her that you
Sergeant. Then NDC brought you this far. Now, what he's bragging about is the fact that he will be IGP till 2030, because your mama has promised him if he should win, may God forbid anything, if he should win, he will maintain him as IGP.
Who was there to hear this?
Oh, it is true. Wait, a meeting was held, of which he was a party to that meeting. And where he was even
The NDC
meeting headed by your mama.
And
This thing is not coming from you. You can Google, you see it.
and
You can go to Ghana Web. Yes, the number of
you go what?
Ghana. Go to Ghana Web. Let your boys do it for you. You see it. Paul Adom Otchere. It is one of his recent episodes. This was the topic. This was the subject matter. This was what was discussed.
And that our MPP
So you mentioned his name publicly, Paul Adom Otchere. What about
possible vice presidential candidates? Includes Otchere, includes
Nsem-Pii?
What would be his wife?
Yes, if he should win. But all these things Nsem-Pii is doing.
But are you saying that President Nana-Addo doesn't hear this?
Who will tell you?
So you heard it. So this is just part of the tape. So they are making an allegation against their boss, which they shouldn't, as COPs, publicly in the forum like that. They really shouldn't. But yes, they are. And they are making the allegation that their boss, Dr. Nsem-Pii, is NDC and he was in some meeting. We don't know about that. We can't vouch for that. But then they say that we did something here. Let's hear that part again, the second part. Let's hear it again.
Paul Adom Otchere. It is one of his recent episodes. This was the topic. This was the subject matter. This was what was discussed.
And that our MPP
So you mentioned his name publicly, Paul Adom Otchere. What about
Possible vice presidential candidates? Includes Otchere, includes
Nsem-Pii?
What would be his wife?
Yes, if he should win. But all these things Nsem-Pii is doing.
But are you saying that President Nana-Addo doesn't hear this?
Who will tell you?
Did you hear that? Okay, they should play it again. Play it one more time. It's only 43 seconds. Let's listen to it again as I make my final notes. Let's hear it again.
Paul Adom Otchere. It is one of his recent episodes. This was the topic. This was the subject matter. This was what was discussed.
And that our MPP
So you mentioned his name publicly, Paul Adom Otchere. What about
possible vice presidential candidates? Includes Otchere, includes
Nsem-Pii?
What would be his wife?
Yes, if he should win. But all these things Nsem-Pii is doing.
But are you saying that President Nana-Addo doesn't hear this?
Who will tell you?
All right, so that's what they said. They said the program here had, so they are making allegations that Dr. Nsem-Pii was with John Mahama or something like that. It's entirely possible that they are trying to impress the MPP person. It's entirely possible that they have their own personal ambitions of ascending the throne of the IGP. So they are telling MPP guy that the IGP is NDC. If the guy sitting in front of them were NDC, they probably would have said the IGP is MPP. So they are trying to campaign for one of them, who they mentioned as a lawyer and also a chartered accountant. They raised the issue against Dr. Nsem-Pii that he's never been an operations man. I'm not a policeman. I don't understand what it means that somebody is operations or somebody is not operations. But police people take a lot of pride in that. Military people, that this is operations, this is not operations, this is staff officer, and this is command officer. I don't understand that anyway. So they are saying that Dr. Nsem-Pii is not an operations person. And they are also saying that Dr. Nsem-Pii has been promised by President Mahama that he will not change him. But, I mean, I'm not sure that the new government will change an IGP when the IGP's time is not due. I think Ghana has gone beyond that. But anyway, they make those allegations that Dr. Nsem-Pii feels confident because John Mahama said he won't change him. Then we are interested in relating to the part of Good Evening Ghana. So they say, in corroborating their point that Dr. Nsem-Pii is an NDC man, that we here on Good Evening Ghana had done some analysis, which is true, we did. And we're still doing it about running mates. And we're going to be continuing the running mates until running mates are selected. I mean, people don't like that we do that, but we will do it. That's what we do. We are political commentators, aren't we? So they said, our work here shows that Dr. Nsem-Pii is NDC. That's the clarification we need to make. We did not set out to do our work to demonstrate or to show that Dr. Nsem-Pii is NDC. We do not know whether Dr. Nsem-Pii is NDC. As I said before, as a matter of public record, we considered, or we threw in the ticket of Nsem-Pii as running mate to Professor Mills, and also Nsem-Pii as running mate to the MPP candidate, if it is Dr. Bawumia. If, and it's always a big if it is Dr. Bawumia, then Nsem-Pii's ticket has been talked about by some people, and that is true. People in both NDC and MPP have thought about the Nsem-Pii ticket, not as a partisan ticket, but as a ticket which brings in an outsider of sorts. And tonight we'll be talking about running mates, and you see that there's been deep conversations in the history of Ghana about how running mates are selected. All of these books talk about it, and we'll get there when we get to the Sam Jonas story. So there's a running mate conversation, and people are thinking that if you are Dr. Bawumia, pick Nsem-Pii from outside the party, from an outsider. If you are John Mahama, pick Nsem-Pii from outside the party. Kofi Boakye was also discussed here on our show, potentially as a running mate to President Mahama, also potentially as a running mate to the MPP ticket, because Kofi Boakye is Ashanti. And if Dr. Bawumia becomes a candidate, he's looking for an Ashanti candidate, as we have been told. And so Kofi Boakye fits the bill, and he's outside the party. Oh, thank you. I was looking for Dr. Nsem-Pii's photograph. He's here now. So that's Dr. Nsem-Pii. Good evening, sir. How are you? I think today has been a very awkward day, hasn't it? But God is with you, isn't he? Okay. Yeah, so that's the point I wanted to make. That we here did our story, not to say somebody's NDC or somebody's MPP. We did our story because we were picking the feelers, and the feelers were that both NDC and MPP were thinking about Dr. Nsem-Pii, and they are still thinking about Dr. Nsem-Pii. I guess I don't know what this story is going to, how this story is going to change anything, but our story that Dr. Nsem-Pii is being considered for NDC and MPP running mate does not indicate, should not indicate to anyone that we are suggesting that Dr. Nsem-Pii is NDC. No, otherwise, are we suggesting that Dr. Nsem-Pii is half NDC and half MPP? Because we had alleged both ways. The important thing, though, is that the matters being alleged on the tape should be interrogated. This is a very serious matter. They are alleged that their boss is having secret meetings with opposition leaders. Is it true? Could it be true? I don't know. But that has to be investigated. I mean, I agree with my friend James Agaga, who spoke on Joy FM earlier, who said that the Interior Minister's comments that it's okay, it's not good enough. Some state institution, the Attorney General's office or somebody, some state institution, the committee put together, cabinet committee put together by the president, including Interior Minister, Attorney General, Defense Minister, and people like that should interrogate the tape. I heard Adam Bona, my good friend, say earlier today on Joy FM, that the technology has been applied and they now know whose voices that is. Those people must come and corroborate it, because these days AI can also do that. They can pick my voice and say that John Mahama will win the election. And then they will say, Paul Adumachi says John Mahama will win the election. They pick my voice and I say, Dr. Bawumia will win the election. They say, oh, look at him. Today he says this, tomorrow he says that. I wouldn't have said anything. AI can do that because my voice is available. your voice may be available too, and they can use that. So it is important that this is interrogated, ventilated properly, and the allegations therein must also be investigated. Those on the tape are confessing to being supporters of the MPP. It appears so. In fact, if you look at the longer tape, they talk about how somebody could be an MPP parliamentary candidate, etc., etc. So they are confessing to be MPP and alleging that Dr. Dampare and some of their colleagues are NDC. This has to be thoroughly investigated. I think that's all we'll say about this for now. We don't have much to say. We are moving on to our big stories, but